Hey, what is up, RC family? I can actually say that now because if you've seen the numbers, we are now legally a cult. No, wait, a community. No, but seriously, thank you guys for your continued support, and I hope to continue to grow this together as a community. Now, let's get to today's build. As you can see, we're doing a massive upgrade and pushing the limits of this power, the durability, and the speed of this Kraton 4S. And please stay tuned because we are not going to let this motor and ESC go to waste. I have another idea for them, and if you've been paying attention to my community posts, some of you might already know what that is. Okay guys, back to the current build. With me jumping up to the 5690 Hobbywing motor, there's just no way that this stock motor mount is going to be able to support it. So let's continue to strip this down and get ready for the new mount. Now, to remove the motor mount, we actually do need to remove the center brace. And trust me, we will be talking about this center brace again. And now that we have that removed, we just need to pop out the center diff and remove the drive shaft. This is actually my first time taking apart an Arma, and I gotta say I'm really impressed with the quality and craftsmanship. You can tell they put a lot of thought and care into the product that they built here. So for the motor mount, I went with a Power Hobby, which is the first time I'm trying that. And they seem to be pretty good build, pretty good quality. And I've had some of their other things, so I was not afraid to try them out. And of course, you gotta use Loctite anytime you're doing aluminum into aluminum. And the benefit to this one is it's actually gel instead of liquid. So it actually will stay where you put it and it won't get all over the place when you're trying to screw it in. And I prefer the medium strength for stuff that you know you're not gonna remove very often. It just seems to hold a lot better than the blue one. Man, I'm not gonna lie, I had the hardest time removing these wires from this clip. I was about to just cut them. That's how angry I was getting. Man, I gotta commend Arma for giving a transmitter box that's actually big enough to hold more than just the transmitter. I've had so many other companies that they make it so tight that you literally cannot put anything else, you can't move anything without having to completely redo it. So I appreciate Arma actually giving you the space you need. Look at this giant, massive pinion. For some reason, I only own one pinion that matches a 8mm. I went from a 16 to a 28. I think that's ridiculous. I gotta say, this is the first time I've used a round mount. So you spin it to kind of mesh the gear together, and the more you want it together, the more you kind of spin it, and then you know, slightly spin it back and forth to try to get that mesh. It was pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe because it was out in the open like this, it was a little bit easier. But compared to some of those other ones I've done, this was pretty simple. If it's too tight, you move it a little bit to the right and, you know, anchor it down. So in terms of ease, I definitely approve of this method. Now in the long term, is it something that will hold up, or is it, you know, not great in the long end? I don't know. But in terms of ease of mesh, it was very simple. So the one thing I did have a problem with, which is right here at this part, was getting the pinion to move close enough to the motor so that it was meshing up with the spur better. The way that I originally had it was just a fraction that you could see, but it was still too much gap or difference between the pinion and the spur, so half of the pinion was actually hanging off the spur, which I didn't want. And I was able to kind of get it right where I wanted it. You can see it right here. It does line up, and there's enough of the spur on the pinion to where it's not an issue, but that does create another issue later on. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about, where I was just moving it just a little bit to try to get that mesh perfect. And all you had to do was loosen that screw a little bit, turn it or twist it, and you could see it lining up just perfect. So just those little movements allowed you to get that perfect mesh without too much hassle. Man, I thought Arma had my back here. It was too easy. It just was too easy. This is the stock mount that came with the ESC, and underneath it actually says max 8 on the stock mount, and it has 4 holes for you to drill. And I thought, man, this is perfect. It lines up. Everything is gonna be just too simple, and I should have known that it wasn't gonna be. But don't worry, because your boy figured out another solution. So I wasn't defeated. I was just a little disappointed. So why did it not work? You can see me trying to fit it. It fits. There's not an issue with that. But if you listen to what I said earlier, I said max 8. What I put in there was a max 6, which is massive compared to the max 8. The max 6 is so huge. So that's the main reason it didn't fit. Is not because Arma did anything wrong, but because I put way too much power and way too big of an ESC in it. But still, to include that for an aftermarket motor, I've taken apart others. No other company that I've done so far has done that. So, you know, big ups to Arma for doing that and just making one more thing a little bit easier for you. And I guess I had been doing this for too long because my child showed up and he wanted some attention. So you can see him right here pushing his way in. Even when I tried to block him, he was like, no, I'm getting some attention. So for all of you who are not familiar with him, this is Venom. And Venom does not know the definition of personal space. So like I said, this is where your boy actually found a solution to the issue. And as you can see, I just moved it over a little bit, which gave it enough space to not rub against the mount. And another thing that I figured out, that this screwdriver actually is still powerful enough to drill into that base plate. So just another reason why you need to get one of these automated screwdrivers. Even if it's not DeWalt, a lot of people tell me there's other brands that are better. Just get one. I don't care which one it is. Alright, so that should be it. I'm just going to wrap everything up. Screw in that last bottom plate for the motor mount and the ESC mount. And then that's it. Should be good to go. And that's what I thought until I turned it on to test it. And is there anything I hate more than putting the bullets into the ESC? I mean, I get why it's gotta be hard, but man, I have the hardest time getting them in consistently. And I don't understand why it's so hard, why it's such an issue for me to do. I end up just grabbing a pair of pliers and doing that, but my hands slip right off of it and I just can't get it in there. I can't be the only one having issues like this. All right, we got everything connected. Let's start the sucker up. So far, so good. Got steering. Got throttle. Let's give it a little bit more throttle. All right, seems to be working pretty good. Oh my God, what was that? Look at all the metal flying out of there. What the hell? I'm thinking maybe I should put a little grease in it. I didn't put any grease the first time, so I put a little bit of grease to see if that was the issue. And yeah, from what I can tell, it's running without any resistance, no grittiness. It seems fine. You know, after popping the motor out, I just didn't see anything that was causing the issue, so I put it back and let's run it again. Yeah, like I said, it seems fine. It sounds good, actually.
The brush. Well, you know, we got a free brush included. That might not be the best. It's like losing a lot of brush or something. Its third use is as art. There you go. And if you're really hard pressed, if you need a plate to eat off of.
But did you guys catch the one thing that I did differently that I didn't do the first time? Is I actually turned that pinion around. So the base of the pinion was actually against the motor, and it was rubbing just enough that it caused those flakes to come up. So you can actually see the grooves in the motor mount. And did anybody else notice the issue that happened after I installed the new motor mount? I didn't realize it until this point. There's no top for the brace. There was no center for the, there was no location for the center braces to connect to. And I did this whole build without realizing it. And even at the end, you still, you can tell I didn't see it. Now the other issue comes in is when I bought the motor mount, which was a couple months ago, this is what he sold me. But what he sold me was the wrong thing because it doesn't have the bracket for the brace in the middle. So there's a piece that actually goes on top of that. So he sold me one to maybe an older one or a model that doesn't require that center mount, sorry, that center brace, but mine does. So in order for me to get it to work, I had to redneck engineer with the stock brace. So you can see I had to cut some pieces off, didn't quite line up. I had to drill a little hole, but now you can kind of see it looks like it may work. And this is where, you know, I shine. Alright guys, well thank you for coming along with me on this journey. The ups, the downs. For the 3 of you that watched it to the end, thank you guys specifically. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more RC.